Welcome back, Kings fans. I am Jesse Cohen. This is All the Kings Men Live, presented by MANSCAPED. MANSCAPED is an official partner of the LA Kings. Thanks to this revolutionary company, manscaping accidents are a thing of the past. Just get yourself the Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0. Inside, you'll find products like their Lawnmower 3.0, which is advanced skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't cut you. Everything you need to keep trimmed and smelling nice is in the Perfect Package 3.0. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KINGSMEN at manscaped.com. That's manscaped.com and use the code KINGSMEN. Joining me as she does every week, Carlin Bathe. How are you doing today, Carlin?
I'm doing well, Jesse. How you doing today?
I'm okay. No matter how many times I read that Manscaped copy, I still feel like I'm tripping over certain passages. There's just some syllables.
Every time.
I know, but my tongue gets jumbled up and I get mustache anyway. We start every week with a Would You Rather, Carlin, and
yes.
I've been wanting to ask this one for a while, but I was sort of waiting for the Stanley Cup final to finish, and it finally did. So here's the Would You Rather.
Okay, I'm scared, as
would
I always
you rather, if you were an NHL player,
uh-huh,
would you rather have a career like Corey Perry, where you start your career by winning the Stanley Cup,
okay,
and then, at least so far, never win it again?
Oh.
Or would you rather have a career like Joe Thornton, who, if I'm not mistaken, was the first overall draft pick and has, we'll include Patrick Marleau in this as well, right? Set tons of records, played, for 20 seasons, maybe more, be considered one of the greatest players at your position, but at, in the final seasons of your career, still be chasing that Stanley Cup at the end. So would you rather have all the sort of individual accolades, but no cup, or start out your career right away with winning a cup and then be chasing that second one?
I feel like, well, first of all, there's a lot of Kings fans watching right now that probably hate that I have to pick between any of these players.
Yeah, sure.
So apologies to everyone listening, watching, and whatever. I have to pick somebody because this is what Jesse does. We all have to answer Jesse's questions. So I would like to be Corey Perry. I would like to have won the cup at the beginning of my career. I still feel like there's a cup somewhere in his future for a team that he's playing for. He was this close again this year. And if I'm going to play like anybody, I want to play like Perry, the people that you listed. So
yeah, that might be the unpopular takeaway from all this.
I'm sorry to Kings fans everywhere. Already in the chat, Pinky says, I feel attacked. So I feel like we ruffled some feathers this morning, no pun intended, with the former Duck there. So
the first version of this question was going to be Corey Perry or Ray Bourque. Where you have like an unbelievable.
Why didn't you ask
that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the question only works if you don't know if you're going to win that, right? Like if you're Ray Bourque at the beginning of your career and yes, you're going to win one in your final. You'll play your entire career with one franchise, and then at the end you'll move on and cheat and get a ring with another franchise. Then that's not really much of a question. Everybody would take Ray Bourque. I wanted to leave the door open to those guys like Pavelski, Marleau and Thornton, where you go like,
sure,
I don't know, will they? Like if they do, it'll be great, but there's no guarantee that any of those guys will get one.
Yeah,
and obviously really any true Kings fan is rooting for them not to. But so the final is over, so I was able to ask that question. But the draft also happened since the last time we spoke, Carlin, and the Kings did a pretty good job. I think everybody's pretty happy with the haul they got in the 2020 NHL entry draft.
I would agree. And kudos to you. I saw one of your tweets that cracked me up where everybody that predicted something can now like pat themselves on the back for getting their prediction right. Like this is that time of year or whatever. But you predicted Byfield on the show, on the live draft show, going at number 2. How happy were you with your prediction? I mean, that was you took a quote that I think Mark said about, taking the bigger player if they had the option, and just kind of listening to that come to fruition. How stoked were you to see that happen?
So I was really happy that it happened, but I don't care that I predicted it because I also predicted that the sun would rise today, and I was right. So, pat myself on the back there.
There you go.
No, look, I am always thrilled, or not always, but I am frequently thrilled with the outcome of the draft. But I mean, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that I don't actually like the draft. And I get a little bit tired of the analysis of the draft because at the end of the day, we never go back in retrospect and say, oh, look, everybody who touted, player X as being a surefire hit in the top 10. And then that guy winds up, never playing a game in the NHL. like, I'm sure there are tons of people who thought Hugh Jessamine would be a great pick for the New York Rangers, and those people every year still get to have people pay attention to them when they give
Yeah.
their new draft analysis. So I don't, it's fun, and there hasn't been hockey to talk about for 7 teams for 7 months. So we got to talk about something. But now I'm
I'll
not too
have
worried
your
about.
back for you because
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
and I appreciate it. I
a
appreciate
good
it.
prediction.
But
yeah.
I was happy with the pick of Quentin Byfield, and I was also happy with the pick of Kasper Simontavel and Helge Grans, because we spoke to Krister Kasarainen from Finland and Sixten Fundqvist from Sweden, and those guys both picked those players. When put on the spot, we said, okay, of the crop of prospects coming from your country, who do you think would be the best fit for the Kings? And they identified those 2 players who did wind up being selected by the Kings. So happy about that more than anything.
That's great. Your sources checked out.
That's right.
A check mark for you for this draft.
I'm happy for other people's predictions. Don't care too much about mine. Yeah. The other big news, though, is that EA Sports will be releasing NHL 21 tomorrow, the newest chapter in the franchise, the newest release in the franchise, whatever you want to call it. But the big news, Carlin, is that you are the first female broadcaster involved in the franchise as part of the Be a Pro mode.
Yes, I am. And this is something that is just so exciting for me. And I think, honestly, Jesse, I hope I'm the first of many females' involvement to come in this game as a voice. I hope I'm one of many. And it was such a blast to be able to work on this game. I never in my wildest dreams would think like, yeah, I'll be in a video game one day. Never, ever, ever. And the process was incredible. The recording was so fun. It was a dream come true of a dream that I didn't know that I had until it was kind of laid out in front of me. And I was like, yes, I want to do this. Yes. So it's an absolute honor. And I'm so excited to play the game and kind of scared to hear myself as I play it. But I know you're a huge fan of this game. So I hope you like the way my voice sounds, Jesse, because you're going to hear a little bit of it in this year's season.
Well, you've got your streaming channel on Twitch. What I'm curious is, are we going to get to see you playing NHL 21, and do I get to watch you watch yourself, basically?
Absolutely. Yes. I got my PlayStation set up here in my office. I'm ready to rip once that game comes out. And yes, I will play and see if I can, hear myself while I'm playing. I'm terrified, but I can't wait to do that.
Before we get into the details of the game a little bit more, how did you get involved? Like, how did you get invited to participate in the making of this game?
Well, we both know Rammer, who's Sean, one of the producers on the game, and my husband and him go way back. My husband is a huge fan of this entire franchise, literally has had every season for I don't even know how long. And the 2 of them are friends, and Sean was just kind of pitching me as an idea of, hey, Carlin could make a great person for this female voice. He knew a little bit about my improv background, and as with most things, you got to get everybody else on board, right? So I had to send kind of a voice sample in hopes of convincing people like, yes, I'm your girl. And sure enough, they landed on a conclusion of, yep, she's our girl. And it was a lot of months in the making, a really long recording session, and hopefully many more recording sessions to come, fingers crossed, if all goes as planned. So it was such a blast and just such an honor to even be thought of, and then for everyone else on the team to give the green light as well.
There are a million little details about that story I could dive into, but there's really just one word that I got hung up on.
Sure.
Who's friends with Rammer?
My husband.
Not your fiance.
My husband, not my fiance.
Yeah, there you go.
I got married last weekend.
Yeah, congrats.
So thank you so much. This is my first debut with that as well. So I'm in a video game and I have a husband, everybody. It's breaking news here times 2 on the channel.
A big week in the Hammer Bath household.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into some of the details of this game. Obviously, player ratings are a point of contention across all of the sports platforms, but the LA Kings, Andrei Kopitar has been pretty highly rated, and this year he comes in at a 90, which I think is fair. I mean, Andrei Kopitar doesn't seem to show any signs of slowing down.
How would you say he ranks as compared to Kopitar in other seasons, though? You've been playing this game for so long. Is this on par with what you've seen him fall at compared to other seasons?
Yeah, it seems about the same. Maybe he was like an 89 once. I really want to talk to Rammer and the other developers on the game because I previously had avoided the franchise mode just because it's so daunting, right? Like you can simulate out 25 years of play if you want, and just who has the time? And then you're also playing against the computer, so my inclination is to just tweak all the settings and cheat and just try and win as many trophies as possible. But I never can figure out whether or not players how the game decides to improve their ratings or downgrade their ratings. So no matter what Kopitar starts at, I feel like a few seasons into me simulating the franchise, he's always up 2 or 3 spots. But like I said, 90 seems about right. I saw a rating of all the top 10 centers. I don't think Kopitar made the top 10 according to EA.
Gosh darn it.
I think that's it feels fair. Like there's a lot of good centers in the game right now, and which is not to say that Kopitar isn't great, but you've got Crosby, McDavid, Matthews, guys like that. 90 feels right to me.
Sure. Okay. Let's go with that. 90. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. And then we have another player as well.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you, or you?
It does.
Thumbs up as well.
No, it does surprise me. And this is a much. It surprises me because of a much larger conversation. Sort of an ongoing conversation that I've been having in the background with Jim Fox, which is how do you determine who's the best at a position or what player is the best? Because I don't think that Drew Doughty physically or mentally has lost anything off of his fastball, but I can't deny the fact that maybe the last 2 seasons have been disappointing for the team and for him personally. And then if you look at the reactions to this rating on social media, there are a bunch of people taking swipes at Doughty and saying like 91, what year is this? And then you also have a guy like Austin Wagner in the game who is nowhere near as fast as he ought to be. Right? Like,
yeah, maybe we talk to Sean about that. Be like, look, have you seen this kid skate?
Right.
Have you?
But then that sort of gets into how they tweak the individual skill ratings on the players to come up with an overall rating. So if you crank Austin Wagner up to a 99 on speed, which I think he should be, then his overall rating, pops up to like probably the low 80s, and then you just go like, all right, well, he's not better than da 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 da. But I don't know. Anyway,
you know what I'm hearing from all of this? I'm hearing, I think a future interview on this show should be with Rammer from EA, so we can pick his brain.
I'm all for it.
Hear how all of these inner workings and decisions are made, and I think that would be super awesome to get some insight on that sort of thing, because you're not the only one with these questions. I know a lot of people are always wondering, how did they come up with that? Right. I think he'd be the perfect person to talk to, and he would just lay it all down all for us and be totally candid. So maybe that's something in the future.
I'm looking forward to it. You are the future of the franchise. These ratings are the present of the franchise. But this year, we also get a bit of nostalgia, a blast from the past. The NHL 94 rewind, an old emulator with the current rosters, but the old NHL 94. Now, I think I was probably 15 when this came out, when NHL 94 came out. And I remember being incredibly bummed in the next year when I went to go buy NHL 95 for the Sega Genesis, only to find out that it had been discontinued for the Genesis and I had to buy a new gaming platform. But anyway,
oh my gosh.
But this is NHL 94, as featured in the film Swingers. And, listen, I was undefeated at this thing when I was in my mid-teens. So I'm excited to see if I'm still any good at it. I suspect I'm not. So 25 years later.
How's the graphics look? Do they match up? Are they on par with what it was?
It looks right. It looks right to me. I mean, the real question for me will be what the goal horn sounds like.
Oh, is it a very significant kind of sound?
It's burned into my brain. I'm not even going to try and mimic it, but it's got a very distinct sound. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that one step over the blue line, wind up and slap shot glitch goal still works, or if the real quick deke right in the crease goal glitch still works. So we'll see. It comes out tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it a lot. Now, we also had a chance to talk to the announcers in the game. I think one of the most impressive advancements in the game technology is that you can now watch one of these games, whether it's simulated or you're playing it, and you've got Ray Ferraro and James Cybulski calling the game. And I mean, we'll find out in a second when we show you the interview we taped with them. But a lot of man hours go into making this, as you yourself well know.
lots of hours go into making this game, and you got to have the ability to bend and go with the ebb and the flow, and I can't think of two greater guys that can do just that. So they've got the gift of gab in the best way, and I think y'all are going to see that here in this interview. So a lot of improvisation goes into recording, like I mentioned, and these two guys are the best of the best at it. And so a little precursor and giving you some foreshadowing into the interview. Jesse, I know you and I were kind of talking about how crazy it is that we are talking about a game that we can't see yet. So with that in mind, just think about the creativity of these two guys and how they're literally making things up off of something that's not in front of them. All we've got are bullet points, and then the rest of the magic is in the minds. So it's pretty cool, and it's great to hear their insight on the whole thing.
Yep. And here joining us now from EA Sports NHL 21, and I suppose NHL 20 as well, former LA King Ray Ferraro and James Cybulski. How are you doing today, fellas?
All good here. How are you guys?
Like Ray gets like former NHLer and like.
Well, look, if this were a Ducks podcast, we wouldn't pump Ray's tires, but it's a Kings podcast.
I'm like the opening act here, Ray.
It's okay, James. That's okay, man. In the game, you are the act. It's all you, man.
True.
Yeah, a subjective one, but an act nevertheless.
And I suppose I actually should have introduced Carlin as being from NHL 21 this year as well, right, Carlin?
Yes. We could throw that in there too. It's like our little broadcast team right here all together for the first time.
If this was an episode of Sesame Street, I'd be the one.
All together, never together. It's all the same.
I'd be the one thing that wasn't like the other. So let's go ahead and get into it, Ray and James. The first question I have, and I suspect this is the same question that anybody who's ever played one of these games is, how many hours do you have to put into the booth to record one of these games?
Ray?
Honestly, I don't even have a guess. It is, when I first started doing it, I thought that I would go into the booth, that there would be a script with the game playing behind the script, and I would read the script for the game that was playing. And then I realized when I got in there is no game. There's a computer screen with a couple of bullet points on it. And they say, yeah, for the next 20 hours, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. And then they bring James in, and James does all his stuff. And then they bring James and I in together, and we do our stuff together. I mean, James, would you even have a guess? Like,
well, I'll say this: like when I signed my contract, I think it was initially for about 300 hours annually, and I think the first year for NHL 20, I think I came in way under that. And it was like, okay, like this is manageable. Like Ray and I would go in, we'd kind of meet up like once a week, and we go in for 4 or 5 hours, and we'd have a nice lunch and discuss the world's problems, and it was very civilized and catering and pampered. And then it started ramping up to a couple days a week, and this year they maxed out. Like Ray, we kept going till August, where in the year prior we stopped in probably spring, and outside of going down to LA for a couple of days to record with Snoop, there was maybe one other day. I think I added a couple of calls in like May, but outside of that, we were pretty much done by mid-April. This year we didn't stop until the middle of August, and the game comes out on the 16th, right? I mean, we went all day. I don't want to toot our own horns, but I think we were maybe the only game within the company that was able to work from home. Like, we figured out the technology, and they took advantage of that, didn't they?
Yeah, I'll tell you, there is nothing more odd than I'm in my closet, because it had to be a smaller room. So I'm in my closet with a computer and the mic and the box for the audio levels, and I'm jammed in this thing, and then the door opens. My wife's got to come in and get her clothes to get in. She's stepping over the computer to get into the thing, and I'm like, I would have never thought this is how you record a video game, but somehow it all, they know what they're doing. James and I, in our part, we try not to kick the ball around too much, and it's been fun. It's been a lot more work than I thought.
Yes.
But man, when I see the finished product, I think it sounds pretty awesome. They're amazing at what they do at EA.
Carlin, when did you get involved in this project?
So this was my first season, of course, NHL 21, being a part of everything. And I would say, gosh, boys, the planning starts what feels like a year before the game even comes out. And I had, been spoken with and kind of asked, what my availability was. And I think I was supposed to record around February or March. And then these things in the world that are still happened, and it got pushed back. And gosh, James, did we record in June? I don't even remember. Like,
you're asking, like, that's the Groundhog Day has been the last 7 months, right? With a pandemic. Yeah, maybe. Sure.
Oh, I don't even remember what month we actually ended up recording in, but Ray, I actually record in a closet too. We redid this closet and put like a window in it, and this was like our biggest coat closet in the house, and it's now an office because of those.
The kids lost their toy room upstairs, and the cubby hole turned into basically my voice booth with like walls of foam. And Ray, I don't know about you, but like I got chirped by the kids. Like, we got 4 little girls in the house. I got chirped because they, obviously everybody was home. Nobody was going to school. But throughout the spring, and we worked a lot on be a pro mode.
Yep.
And so a lot of conversations about the rookie, right? And so talk about the rookie. I'd be sitting there. I'd come down at lunch when I'd finish up a voice session or at dinner, and like I'd have 4 little girls, whether like it was my 12-year-old, whether it was the 9-year-old, even the 5-year-old. The rookie. Hey, the rookie. Oh, the rookie's on fire right now, eh? It's like, am I getting chirped right now from the kids? Like, oh, they heard it nonstop. And then, my way better half, Brenda, she works in the pharmaceutical industry, and the office is downstairs here for her. But she's on calls with doctors across the country and across North America. And then here's, Ray and I calling a goal. And like, when I call a goal, if anybody's played the game, I'm shouting, right? So, hey, scores! And like, all she can hear, and, people from all across are like, what the hell's going on upstairs right now? Like, who's screaming?
To that point, James, I'd like people that play the game to realize when a goal goes in and you're upset at James or I, how we call the goal, I'd like you to realize we're not at the game.
Yeah.
We are in a sound booth that has been recorded months before. So if your goalie loses a shutout, I don't care.
Not on us.
I wasn't there. It wasn't me. It was James. It was not me.
I will say too, boys, it's just to piggyback off of that, they do a good job reminding you, act like you're in the game. Louder. No.
Yeah.
No, louder than that. And you think you're screaming and you're like, I'm going to upset the neighbors here. And then they're like, that was okay. And it's like, what? And then they get you fired up. And then like the third take is like the one. So we are, trying to do our best possible to let people know, we're
Carlin, I'll tell you one thing that's happened with James and I, and we finally had to tell the guys, the guys that do all the recording and all that. Yep. So when you get into studio, right, eventually we're all going to get in there together, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later. And so James and I will lay something down, and then through the glass, we can see the 4 guys talking, but we can't hear them. Now they can only be talking about us.
Yeah.
And as the discussion goes on, we're like, anything we should know about? Or so we finally had to say, just keep the mics open so we know they're not like, wow, listen to these guys today. They're terrible. Or whatever it is.
Ray, do you remember the movie? I mean, and Carlin, for that matter, do you guys remember the movie Lost in Translation with Bill Murray?
Yes.
Hansen? It's that scene when like Bill Murray's doing the commercial for like Santori whiskey or whatever, and he makes it Santori, and then like the Japanese director is like, ah, and the translator kind of just gives him a little to the right, and he's like, is that all he said? And that's where like Ray and I will finish, doing a little back and forth, and then it's like deathly quiet for 90 seconds, and you can, there's 5 guys, and you're like, was that okay? Was that
Yeah.
fine?
Was it good?
Okay. And then all of a sudden, just the editor comes in. Okay, let's go to the next one. Like,
You're like, wow, that was a 3-2 vote to say that was okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Ray, I do play the game probably too much.
You play it a lot, Jesse.
I
You love
do.
it.
And I've got to say, as a Kings fan and now as a podcaster for the LA Kings, I thought I was familiar with your career, Ray, but now I know that you had 408 goals, and out of those 408, you had 9 hat tricks, and if I'm not mistaken, 2 empty netters. So
2 empty netters.
Are we getting new info about Ray Ferraro's career for NHL?
Well, here's the problem. I retired in 2002. It's tough to come up with new stuff,
Sure.
right? It's like the numbers are the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Ray, isn't it funny what sticks with people though? Like what Ray and I did that, like, and it's funny because we've obviously added more and more. They call them buckets, right? When you do layers for goal calls or like a pass to the right winger, or we just do hundreds or sometimes for just one context we do dozens of them. But like Ray and I just, sometimes we're allowed to improvise. Like everything we do is improvised.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we try to keep it fairly game focused because, anything too unique pops for the gamer. But like, I remember when we recorded that, it was just kind of fun. We moved on. Everybody liked it. But I don't know if it was a case of it triggering all the time when the game first came out, but I don't know, Ray, we both got like multiple, like
hammered on it.
Social media. I have to hear one more time.
Yeah,
I mean, it is really impressive the way they layer it together, as you said. But yeah, I mean, I think the problem is people like me just play it too much, right?
Well, but you know what, Jesse? James kind of glossed over a little bit, but when James came on board, we had to basically we redid, correct, James, the entire audio package.
Yeah.
And so you can never really have enough.
Yeah.
Like if the scenario is, star player comes down the wing and shoots the puck, well, we have to come up with 5 ways to say the same thing. And then if there's only 5, well, those will trigger pretty quickly. So then 2 weeks later, they'll say, yeah, we're going to go back to that bucket. We need 5 more.
Yep.
And then 5 more. And so I'm sure, like, Carlin, you must be doing the same thing, right? Like you can't say the same thing, even if it is the same thing.
Yeah, we did a few different takes of saying kind of the same thing in different ways. And it's crazy or I'm thankful that they let us improvise. We've got the bullet point, like you said, and then just having that ability to not have to stick to this one-liner that's written for us, I think is what helps all 3 of us the most, because then you tweak it just a little bit and just enough that it's like, okay, yeah, that sounded different than the last one that we just did. So that's been the biggest help, is the improvising. But gosh, yeah, it's hard to think about different ways to say the same thing, even in our own like real life jobs where we're talking about, whatever we're doing in our real life jobs, like all of us having to commentate on whatever we're commentating on. It's so hard to think of different ways to say the same thing.
And that's the brilliant. I'll say this, like, Carlin, you nailed it with it. And it probably took, I'm going to guess, like 15 minutes for you when you're going into something you've never done before.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is what we want, and just do it, right? And improvise. And, I feel like for me, sometimes I have it easy because it's just, you're connecting the dots where, okay, shot, score, like it's a slap shot, it's a goal, so I can improvise that, but I kind of know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Where you're improvising, and I thought you nailed it, like it took a couple minutes, and you're like, okay, this is how it goes, and boom, like you were right into it, and all of a sudden, with 2 people that have never met physically and never really had a chance to talk before, and then all of a sudden you're finding a chemistry on the fly.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I thought you were awesome. And Ray, like, to me, and I don't know if gamers realize like what Ray does. And I think Ray's a good guy at being pretty humble, but like Ray breaks down like nothing, in the sense that he breaks down a play that doesn't exist except for in his mind. Right. So it's like, okay, Ray, I need you to, do a replay analysis on a goal that, was a tip in front. And you listen to, like, if you listen to what Ray's saying, man, like, the guy's giving you perspective and substance, and he just pulls it out of
You can learn from him.
hair.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Ray's the best at what he does and it's reflective of that in the game.
Yeah.
You know what? Thank you. What I found is how much pressure I put on myself like James is doing these goal calls, and they're hard on his voice because they're loud, and he's got to put enthusiasm in it. So he scores, and then I kick around my line, and then they're like, yeah, we got to do that again. And I'm like, oh, not for me. Like, okay, I'll do it again. I screwed up. You only got so much gas in the tank. And I'm like, so now they're like, I think we can clip James's part out to save his voice. Like, you start feeling pressure not to screw up for everybody else.
Yeah. Like he's nailed it, and now you're like, oh Jesus. That the hardest part was trying not to laugh at whatever toss he was giving, or I was like, how am I supposed to? That was like it would be like the funniest thing I've ever heard, and then we have to follow it up with our line, and it's like I'm just trying not to laugh right now. How are we supposed to carry on?
It's been quite an education, I'd say, for me, watching how they piece all this together. Like like they'll say, okay, you can't say that because we were talking about this on another day, and that has to fit into this bucket. And I think it's amazing, actually.
And Ray, pronouns, right?
Oh,
we, there. Oh, I mean, how many times we've had to tweak conversations. And I think, like, to a credit, like, the game, and rightly so, has become, way more diverse and inclusive. Whether it's incorporating more names that just reflect the diversity around the planet, but, female players, and we have those calls. I mean, Ray's married to one of the greatest hockey players ever on the women's side. And, like, that's right. Like, women's game has grown, and it's, but, like, we had to, how many times did we have to get that out of our head from right?
How many times you do something and they'd say, yeah, that was really good, but you said he, and you're like, no, I didn't. Because it says right there, female variant, so you're like, yeah, she, it's not that hard. I said she, and they're like, no, you didn't. And then they go back and play it, and sure enough, it says he, and you're like, oh,
check the tape. Check the tape.
Yeah.
So this year, the Build a Pro
that's
mode.
also grown. That's really grown, for sure.
The Build a Pro mode is sort of the focal point, I think, this season. How much extra work did that give you guys to do?
All of it. It was like the whole, like, from basically, Ray, I would say I think we did a bunch. We focused on game content, I think, for the first 4 months. Oof. And then by January, I think it was full on be a pro for the most part.
I was going to say from the new year on, I don't really recall doing much else.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you have variants on all those too, right?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah. And so it's, I mean, it's the regular amount of the regular amount of content doubled. And so you've got to, you do one, you do the male version, you do the female version, you do the female version, you do the male version. You layer on top of each layer, and they have, okay, this is what we're going to attack today, this whatever it is, and then next week we're going to get into this. And don't forget as well, it's really easy when we're in the studio. You go in, they've got everything's all set up, all the recording stuff is set up. Then we have to switch to home, and everybody's working. We're in the closet. James is in the toy room. Carlin's in her closet. Our producer's in a kitchen whose wife is working at the other end of the table. Like, it's chaos, and yet they put it all together.
Yeah. Danny had the neighbors with piano lessons or trumpet lessons at the same time. It was
Danny also had some construction going on right outside his window for about 2 weeks. That was not helpful.
Danny's our producer's Wi-Fi would suddenly cut out because there was construction in the area. Yeah, no, like I think a lot of people, anybody watching this, can relate. If you've had to work from home over the last few months, like we're all in it together. But we've made it work. But I would say like they've kept most of the content that I think Ray and I did in NHL 20, and that was probably at least 250 hours. Between the two of us both working and all the names, and like Ray said earlier, starting from the outset. And then this year I think we were close to 300 hours this year. So when you look at the depth in the game now here, 2 years in with, Ray and I, part of the broadcast team, and now Carlin part of the mix as well, you're looking at, over 500 hours, I think, of content, of, commentary in the game that's been built specifically for this.
This might be a spoiler, but I've got to ask, is there any mention of the Seattle Kraken? Like, can I play out a season as the Kraken and hear you guys talking about it, or is that being held off for next year?
I don't think we ever said Kraken, Ray? Like I think maybe Seattle gets mentioned as a city.
Right.
I don't think Kraken, because you know what, the Kraken came out like we were focused on be a pro, so I think you're gonna have to wait another year. I mean, if there's another NHL game that comes out, so
right, right. Well, listen, I love the game. It comes out October 16th. You can pre-order it. I mean, that's tomorrow, so you can pre-order it if you want, but it'll come out on Xbox, PlayStation, all the different platforms. Ray and James, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I hope everybody enjoys it. I do know the game gets better all the time, and we feel proud to be part of it. And as the game grows and gets more diverse and more intricate, I think it becomes more and more fun for more people.
It is without question. As somebody who years ago hunkered down and spent many Friday and Saturday nights playing NHL 94, 95, and through the years, and the gray hair reflective of it, I would say it's probably one of the most fulfilling things, turning on the game and seeing what the team behind the scenes does to put it together and make the magic happen, to make raise a natural as it is, but to make this guy sound half decent and audible for people. So it's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thanks, boys. Really appreciate it. You both make it so fun to listen to. So
you make it fun to listen.
No. To be a small part of that is just, it's unbelievable. You both are hilarious, and you make the game just so fun. So thank you so much for joining us.
See that, Razor? We're both hilarious.
Oh, she means you, James. And I don't think it's when you're trying. It's just, you just are.
Comedy is subjective, right? Comedy is really subjective. One.
It's one all, one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Huge thanks to Ray Ferraro and James Cybulski for joining us. And Carlin, once again, congratulations on being the first female broadcaster involved in the NHL EA Sports franchise.
Thank you.
Look, we have no idea when hockey is going to be played again. As we said at the start of the show, the final is over, the draft is over, free agency is underway. Now we've got EA Sports NHL release happening this week. So until actual hockey starts again, I would suggest, if you have a gaming platform, I've got an Xbox, Carlin's got a PlayStation, go ahead and get the game, give it a shot. I'm going to be playing. Now, Carlin, the reason I actually got back into playing these games, I didn't have a video game, so I think I had a PlayStation 2 that got stolen at a house party that a roommate of mine threw back in the early 2000s, and I just never replaced it, and so I there's this huge gap in my video game resume from like 2004 to like 2015, I think.
That's tragic.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my.
was very upset at that guy. But anyway, but in 2015, I bought the Xbox with the thought, oh, well, now I do the podcast. Maybe I'll figure out a way to stream it or to do live versions of the podcast while I'm playing with fans. Never really came together.
Yeah.
But you've got your streaming channel on Twitch, as we said, so maybe we'll get a chance to watch you play it. And I don't know, maybe I'll put something together. But until the game has that sort of Xbox PlayStation crossover compatibility, I wish I could. But
do I have to get an Xbox to play with you? Because I will, Jesse. I will do just that if that means that we get to play together on my channel.
I may hold you to that.
Okay.
May hold you to that.
I'll get on eBay.
But as we said, huge thanks to James and Ray, and congrats to Carlin.
Thank you.
And hopefully EA Sports is enough to tide us over until December or January, or if you believe the owner of the Vegas Knights, maybe even February. I don't want to put that out there into the universe. But now we're going to move on to the social media roundup, Carlin, and predictably, a lot of this focused on the draft.
Absolutely. So the Kings taking Quinton Byfield at 2nd overall drew a lot of attention all around the country from a lot of different people. And we've got some messages from some celebrities, some athletes alike. And we're going to start off with this one from Snoop, giving an old shout out to QB. So take a listen.
Can't wait to meet you, QB. Let's go. Yo, QB, it's your boy Big Snoop Double G. Congratulations and welcome to the LA Kings, man. Can't wait to meet you, QB. Let's go.
Must be off
Dave
there.
Roberts up next. We got some Rams players coming up after Dave Roberts here.
Hey,
Quite
Quinn,
a
what's
few
up?
of them actually giving their well wishes.
Just wanted to say congratulations and welcome to LA. We're happy to have you here.
What's good, Quentin? Sebastian Joseph Day with the LA Rams here. Man, I just want to say congratulations on the huge accomplishment. Welcome to LA.
QB, man, from one rookie to another, man, I just want to say congratulations. I'm a rookie too, Jordan Fuller, safety for the Rams, man. Just want to say congrats and keep putting on because you're making a big splash, so keep doing your thing.
Congratulations, Quentin. Hey, man, you're going to love it here in LA. Big shout out, much love, man. I can't wait to see you do your thing. And go Kings. I need tickets to a game, babe.
Just want to give a shout out to Quentin for being the number 2 overall pick to the LA Kings. Welcome to LA. Maybe when COVID's all over, we can all, get together, all the rookies here in LA. Congratulations. I'm looking forward to come seeing a game.
Love seeing all those warm welcomes from some LA royalty right there. And then Magic Johnson was also a part of the bunch with a tweet saying, "Welcome to LA, Quinton Byfield. Congratulations on being drafted by the Kings as the highest selected black hockey player in NHL history." And Quinton was just no fear, just straight up says, "Thank you, appreciate it. I'm not bad at point guard if you ever need someone." And that's the confidence we want from a kid like him. And I just love that. Just like absolutely no fear. Like, yeah, also, by the way, Magic Johnson, here's this. Like,
I think he also replied to the Rams that he could play a little wide receiver. From what I'm told, he played multiple sports. Yeah, played a lot of sports and was good at all of them. So you like to see that versatility as far as his athleticism, and also impressive that the Rams were able to get that many people to participate. LA may not be a traditional hockey market, as it were, but I think it's probably good for the team's brand amongst players if you can get that sort of collection of people congratulating a player for being drafted by the franchise.
Absolutely. Jesse, do you want to do that? We got a note from our producer. Do you want to?
Yeah, we're gonna play. We're gonna play Dave, the Dodgers manager, Dave Roberts again here because I guess we didn't have audio the first time.
Hey, Quinn, what's going on?
Perfect. Here we go.
This is Dave Roberts, manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Congratulations on being the 2nd overall pick, first pick for the Los Angeles Kings. I can't wait to watch you play some hockey. And while I wait to watch you play hockey, you've got to continue to watch us win a World Series championship. So can't wait to meet you in person. Again, man, congratulations. Well done.
There we go. Hopefully we heard it that time. Some nice words there from Dave Roberts.
Yeah. Now, ordinarily, that would be the end of the social media roundup. But, Carlin, as we mentioned earlier this episode, you had your wedding this past weekend.
Oh,
and
God.
I know that I know that you had planned to have it not during a pandemic and have it play out much differently than you wanted. But things are what they are. So we went ahead and put together a little clip for you as well. Producer Chris, if you can make sure that we could hear that now.
What's up, guys? It's Jack A. Wilson and Milo E. Wilson. We just want to say congrats and tell you how much we love you. Hammer, you're an awesome dude. Carlin, you're still top 3 in our favorite members of your family. We love Jordy, we love Hammer, but you know, top 3 is still pretty good. So, Milo, say bye.
Hi, Carlin and Mike. It's me, Kat. Congratulations. I love you both so much. I can't wait to see you sometime next year.
Hey, Carlin and Mike, Jim Fox here. Just want to pass along my congratulations on you guys getting married. Of course, we can't get together now, but I can't wait to get together and really celebrate. Congratulations, guys.
Hey, Carlin. Hey, Mike. Just wanted to say congratulations on the wedding. All the best moving forward, and hope you guys are doing well and staying safe.
Hey, Carlin. Hey, Mike. Congratulations on the wedding. It's about time. Such great news. Patrick here, checking in from Malibu. It's been tough, not working. This is what my life looks like. But for you two, my big question, who will your kids root for? The Kings? The Ducks? The Sharks? Which would be weird if it was the Sharks. We'd have to investigate. The Flyers? In which case Frank is going to have a lot of influence. But I'll go with the Kings because I think the future is looking very bright. But I'm really excited for you two. Can't wait to see you very, very soon. Happy honeymoon. And again, cheers and congrats.
Oh, my God. Oh,
Hi,
my
Carlin.
God.
Hi, Mike. Congratulations. We love you.
So there you go, Carlin. Congratulations to you and Mike.
Who got my nephews on that? Like, I am a mess right now. I am so blown away. I cannot believe this. Like, I am so grateful for all of those well wishes. That is an absolute shock. I'm so blown away. Like I said, I'm literally speechless. That's so meaningful. Producer Chris, you're gonna have to clip that and send it to me so I can have that forever.
Well, my goal was to make you cry, so mission accomplished. I think.
You made me cry within the first 2 seconds. Seeing Jack and Milo, I was like, oh my God. Austin Wagner taking time out of his day. Foxy and Patrick, my best friend Kat. Like, are you kidding me? My nephews? What? Like, oh gosh, that was so special. Thank you. Wow.
Excellent. Well, we hope everybody at home enjoyed that as much as Carlin did. Thanks to James Cybulski and Ray Ferraro. Thanks to Carlin. Thanks to producer Chris. Thanks to everybody who sent in those videos congratulating Carlin and Hammer. Thanks to everybody watching. We hope you stick with us, and we'll see you next week.
Just like a seed in a garden.